What's up guys, it's Drac, and we did it last week. We talked about the worst blasters, which is always a lot of fun, but also kind of bittersweet. After all, wouldn't it be nice if they could all be great? And that's what we're gonna talk about in this week's Top 5 Friday. So our top 5 is from one company, which is unusual. Our honorable mentions are pretty cool. I don't have either one of them on my blacked out table because one of them is in about 50 pieces being turned into products for foamproshop.com. And the other one is just really large and somewhere in storage up in the attic right now because we haven't been able to take it to a war in a while. Thanks, 2020. Anyway, those products are the MA40 from the Halo franchise being branded by Nerf and sold as a semi-auto flywheeler. It just looks really good. I'm a huge Halo fan. I think that it's pretty sweet. It's got a great shell, and theoretically, by the time we're done actually getting our parts onto the market, it should have some major potential. And then on the other side, we have the faux real bow, which takes everything that I like about the Fobo Pro and turns it into more traditional archery, more kind of muscle memory. It's just more distance, more power, it's just great. I played with it at the ATA. I got a first review out. They're sold out everywhere right now. So if you want one for the holidays, sadly, you can't even get your hands on one. But the faux real bow is definitely my dark horse for the year. Surprised the heck out of me. Enjoyed playing with it in the 2 wars that we got pre-lockdown. Really liked the faux real bows. So both of those are honorable mentions. They're just both really cool products and they're both kind of surprises. Let's move on to number 5. So this list is just gonna look like a highlight reel for one company in particular that just has gotten plenty of positive press, plenty of attention this year, and all of it well deserved. So we're gonna start off with the powered by Dartzone Adventure Force Villainator, the 20x20 Villainator, which is to say that this bad boy has 40 rounds of capacity, the ability to easily rip, lick, and stick a new drum in there, and you've got adjustable stock options where you could either put an aftermarket one on with an adapter, or you could choose this one, which I honestly think fits it very well. It's got a Tommy gun kind of vibe. It shoots over-under from its barrels. It uses a unique kind of plunger shape there in the back to accomplish that. It's just everything that Dartzone's been leading up to. It's a Magnum Super Drum with a pump grip and slam fire. We should have put darts in it for that test. But overall, high FPS, high performance blaster with lots of little tricks from pop-up sights to variable stock options, relatively comfortable grips, and it comes in at 20 United States dollars. That is a full-sized primary class blaster, pump action Springer, delivers high FPS performance for 20 United States dollars that happens to come with not only 40 of the best darts, but also it can launch all of them without ever having to move your hands off of the grips. Yes sirree, ladies and gentlemen, come on down, tell your children, tell your wife, the Alpha Trooper's back. It just doesn't look like anything you remembered. Our number 4 offering this year is the Dartzone Spectrum, which is another Adventure Force Dartzone collaboration. And while ours has had a little bit of work done on the front end there, as well as a little bit off the top, it's using proper pick tinny at this point, and those are all kits available at my web store. I just wanted to point out that even in its stock form, even when it's goofy nose, this is a $20 strife killer that delivers the hits. Coming in at almost 100 FPS, shooting traditional 50 cal foam, and coming with better darts than the competition. This is a pretty serious semi-auto scream machine that does everything that you want it to do in a compact package. You can throw the Villainator stock on there for a little bit more length. You can throw a kind of goofy smaller stock on there to keep it nice and tight. There are a few more products that I still want to design for this in particular. With a 2S LiPo in here, I'm still a little tight in the stock battery tray, although I do love how smooth the profile is in that scenario. Takes a litany of different magazine types and theoretically has a pusher that possibly could accommodate half lengths if you tweaked everything the right sort of way. I mean, just a really great blaster. Everything's right where you want it to be. It definitely needs some love in the form of aftermarket parts to get up to full-on, competitive class primary status, but there's absolutely no reason the blaster with this build quality at this $20 price point can't do that. All that boils down to say that the Spectrum does an awful lot for its $25 retail. It comes with great guts, delivering almost 100 FPS performance right out of the box by virtue of its bonus battery storage and just really good flywheel technology. It's also got a very simple set of internals, which lends itself very nicely to modifications. And while I am a big believer in modding your own stuff, you could very easily take a hacksaw or a scroll saw to the front end and just chop that off. I'm sure it's included as some sort of safety feature. If you want a slightly more elegant solution, I think that our kit does a great job of de-resing this bad boy into a very tight little pistol package. That makes our number 4 slot a no-brainer. For 25 bones, you get what is one of the best flywheel offerings of the year, bar none. Stock, modified, pick a category, it does it all. I think that it's very handsome. I'm just waiting to see some really slick paint jobs on other people's Spectrums. I wish that I had a little more time because I really want to do one up black and white. I think that that would look cool with a neon orange tip. That said, it's time to move on to number 3. It's also time to go pro. Number 3 is a pro grade blaster, that is to say an Adventure Force pro grade blaster. And while it was the second one to come out this year, it's certainly no slouch. And it shares a price point with the Spectrum. So if you don't want to go flywheel, but you want to stay in that same sort of compact package, you can very easily pick yourself up an Aeon Pro, and right out of the box, you're hitting 130 to 150 FPS. That's not a joke. You could run a super stock Battlefield with just 2 dead presidents, and I'm talking Jackson Lincoln here, baby. I mean, this thing is serious power at the $25 price point, getting you high FPS performance, the ability to shoot both half lengths, which is clearly the more superior competitive ammo, and full lengths if you need to gently ease into that transition. This Retaliator no longer is just a serious powerhouse at 25 bucks. That's pretty much all I have to say about it. It's $25. It delivers the hits. It's ultra compact. There are obviously a few little cosmetic tweaks and tricks that I've put it through its paces with, but all that said and done, I mean, the Aeon is a handsome blaster. It's got good lines for paintwork. It has incredible performance, a metal barrel, a sealed breech, blah, 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 blah. I start to sound like a broken record, but it's just impossible to believe. If you asked me even months ago if there would be a pro-grade blaster for under $30 anywhere, much less on a store shelf ready for anyone to purchase it, I'd have told you that you were crazy. And now it seems like this is the go-to comparison that every Springer has to live up to. Wild. But what if it was smaller? Our number 2 blaster is actually my personal favorite release of the year. This is the Dartzone Pro Mark II, and color scheme aside, it is an incredibly handsome blaster that comes out of the box with a litany of different accessories. Now, while it's certainly not going to save your wallet at $80 retail, you get a lot for that $80. Not just a holster, not just a safety secret agent suppressor attachment, not just funky fresh speed loaders that lock into the blaster and make it a breeze to use this on the go, but you also get the best foam-flinging pistol that I think has ever been produced. With the exception of, you know, custom one-offs and mods that experts of our craft have output, this is a mass market pistol that delivers 150 FPS performance out of the box. I've tried tuning it. I'm working on a spring for it. I'm working on a few other things for it. I've already produced a claw and a safety delete for it. I think that it is an incredible blaster. The only downside to it is, despite its hefty price tag, you can't get it. It's sold out on Target.com 3 times in a row. I barely had enough to pick up some for myself and some for my staff and some for a few international friends. It's insane how hard it is to get a hold of one of these, to the degree that scalpers are flipping them for $200 on eBay right now. If that's not a sign that it's at least a decent blaster, I don't know what is. It's crazy how compact, how much power, how just sharp and accurate this is. My sister Addie over at Foam Blast did a full competitive breakdown of this, and she was hitting targets not as nicely as her Talon Claw, but certainly pretty close, from a distance, from cover, from prone, etc. I can't wait to get this out onto a competitive field and run a few laps around people, possibly even dual wielding these, because they're just that slick. This is everything speedball player Drac wanted in a primary class pistol a decade ago, and now it's here. I want to play HVZ with it. I want to play FPT with it. I want to put it under my pillow and sleep with it. It is the coolest pistol that I think our hobby has ever seen. And that's like not hyperbole. It's also not a unique opinion. It's really cool. That said, I couldn't in good faith pick it for our number 1. despite how much I love this pistol and how radically cool I think the Mark II is and how unique in what it does at its form factor is, there's only one blaster that can be #1 in 2020. And it's the one that nobody saw coming. That's right, you know it. You love it. We went so crazy about it that they consolidated and then banned posts on it in certain forums. It's the Nexus Pro. It is the primary class powerhouse for 50 bones. It is a serious ode to hobby study, the likes of which nobody could see coming, but clearly had to be in the works for a while. It is the most flattering ode to our hobby that I have ever seen a company produce in our space. It is ridiculous how much blaster you get for 50 bones, and it's on shelves in stock at Walmart. That means that there's a 4,000 plus chain network of retailers going out of their way to bring our hobby into the mainstream, and that is so very, very special. We don't have to split hairs about it. I've made a lot of content about this. I've made a lot of products for this. It is compatible with buffer tube stocks, both for your AR-15 or any sort of mil-spec compatible system, which means you can get a lot of good stock for it. It has the ability to change out grips if you're so inclined, although the stock one will suit you just fine. It's got magazine releases and an adapter so that you can, of course, shoot full-length or half-length darts. But no, you're not married to their half-length darts. You can take hobby-grade half-length dart magazines and you can slam those home just as well. It's got a lot of power in the chamber. It has a quick disconnect release in the back so that you can change springs on the fly, and it's accurate as all get out with a sealed breech system and a long enough barrel to make full use of its relatively robust plunger tube setup. It's easy to mod, it's great to paint, it's easy to add muzzle attachments as though they were almost designed to take new muzzle attachments. And in fact, the muzzle attachment it comes with shoots variable ammo. It has hidden underneath its stock pump grip a Picatinny adapter, kind of, that will allow you to put any sort of printed grip on there or aftermarket grip or airsoft grip, etc. I personally favor this Caduceus that we sell. It's got an upper and a lower set of rails, which means that you either have to compensate for those with different optics, or you can pick a litany of both free and for sale rails that can go on top to just level it out into one flat. It's got a D-prime lock here, cleverly tucked away where it's never going to get in the way. It's got a built-in safety, although that one's easy to delete as well. Overall, it's just a stellar product. It's ergonomically sound, it's durably built, it's only $50. And that's the part that keeps getting me, is that in a hobby, in a sport, in a space where to get this kind of performance, you had to spend hundreds of dollars or at least a dozen hours learning what you're going to need to do in order to get this kind of performance, you can now pick it up off the shelf ready to go. And as cool as the blaster is, as much as this is absolutely deserving of the spot of #1 blaster 2020, and not to call them out, but I would have to be frankly astounded to see any other independent reviewer with any experience in actual Nerf battles pick anything but a pump action powerhouse like this for their #1 pick. It's not by itself the #1 thing about 2020. While it certainly is deserving of the #1 blaster of 2020, the #1 thing that happened to our space in 2020 is right here. It's small, it might seem insignificant, but the fact that for a dime or less, you can pick one of these up at Walmart off the shelf is an absolute game changer. This makes every other dart look anemic by comparison, with the possible exception of Worker Gen 3s, which you have to buy online and have to already be plugged into our world to even know that they exist, or Bamboo Pro darts, and again, you have to be plugged into our world to know that they exist. This is such a complete game changer because this means that kids who have never heard of Nerf Tube or Nerf Talk or Nerfogram or what have you, this means that kids who have never cracked a shell or swapped a spring or, built an epoxy ramp or certainly never put tightening rings in their brass barrel, made a breach, it means that they all of a sudden have to answer the question in an aisle full of blasters that deliver nothing but empty promises. What is that all about? And that's the coolest thing that's happened to our hobby in the entire time I've been in it. This is such a little love letter to our hobby that sitting on store shelves is going to bring more players onto our field that frankly I'm trying not to get all cheesy about it, but I'm so excited to see in 2021 when we start regularly hosting events again and we can talk about these in earnest and people can bring these blasters and be ready out of the trunk of their car, fresh from a Walmart 10 minutes down the road, to do battle like they've been a part of our hobby for years, I think that that's going to be something really, really special and really exciting to see. And I can't wait to see it in 2021. Be safe. Enjoy the holiday with your loved ones, however you're choosing to exercise that freedom this year. And as always, much love. Blast on. Drac out.